Hierarchical churches, ideological or faith-driven. Classical management theory as a framework for mission. Carrie Graves, Queen's University of Charlotte, Com 610, 2017. Hierarchical churches derive their structure from that of empire. Efficiencies are produced through law and ideology, ensuring money is protected and spent for the mission for which it was given. Committees, commissions, and diocesan executive councils run the diocesan government. A diocesan government, which is a geographical denotation, is similar to a state government in that decisions on how one will implement church-wide law can be made on the local level, as in the example of performing same-sex marriages. In fact, Pritchard describes dioceses as the highest authority. If indeed dioceses are the highest authority, there is still much room for ideological interpretation by members of the church. There is room for those in control to put those they wish to be in control up for election for diocesan office. The classical management elements in the ordering of council, officers, and other roles to be fulfilled fall into a bureaucratic system that, at its best intentions, protects the freedoms of its people and plans for the careful use of funds to provide mission and ministry, and at its worst becomes a political game to bless or deny rights to people within the church. As in the classical Western Church post-Great Schism in the year 1054, church law is based on Roman civil law. Roman civil law is empire. Empire is about power, control, and systems. Jesus spent much of his ministry pointing out the hypocrisies of empire and how, in the kingdom of God, things work in the opposite way one might interpret from Roman law. Interestingly, there is no preamble to the Constitution of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina, the text we analyze in this paper. But for Article 6, Amendment, Article 5, Statement of Mission and Ministry, is the last principle to be mentioned in that Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution of the United States is a statement of mission on its own. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The Constitution of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina begins with Article 1, which in part reads as follows. The clergy and laity of that portion of the Episcopal Church located in the state of South Carolina, lying north and west of the counties of Chesterfield, Darlington, Lee, Sumter, Calhoun, Orangeburg, and Barnwell, known as the Diocese of Upper South Carolina, for the purpose of establishing orderly government of the Episcopal Church within these boundaries, and to avail themselves of the advantages of the word and sacraments of God's holy church, do establish this Constitution. Here the clergy and the laity, the people, establish this local structure for the perpetuation of the mission of the Episcopal Church. The people pledge that they follow the Constitution and canons of the Episcopal Church. There is a statement of togetherness and connectedness, of being part of a larger web that mimics that of a state in the Union. The true statement of mission is missing, except as outlined in the Book of Common Prayer, which is the guiding faith for the Episcopal Church. If an organization is the container in which communication takes place, and the organization itself is formed through communication, what does the Constitution of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina say to its people in the larger community? It says that the Book of Common Prayer is important. It says that governance is important. It expounds on governance. It does not mention Jesus, Christ, or his disciples. As a text on its own, the Constitution of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina, as an example of the guiding principles in hierarchical churches, is missing a pronouncement of faith and mission. To a reader without knowledge of or access to a Book of Common Prayer, this organization would not sound much like the ministry of Jesus. Article 5 promotes the mission and ministry of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina, but the mission and ministry is not defined or described objectively or subjectively. Like in the United States, governance in hierarchical churches can be used to protect and promote the well-being of all people, in this case, all God's children. But that principle as mission must be agreed upon by those who govern and must be the top priority. Otherwise, one risks running a system that does some good work but is not guided by the principles of servant leadership. Classical management, by definition, is not the same as servant leadership. The last are not first, and the first are not last. In church governance, classicism abides. Laity who are educated and wealthy tend to be involved, to get elected, and to make decisions. The decision-making process, as outlined, for example, in the Constitution of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina, is not countercultural. It models the culture of empire. How can a way of life that is structured to follow a system of classical management be countercultural? How can it be radical in its outpouring of love for all people? As long as those making decisions take classical rather than the human resources approach, it can't. In conclusion, individuals can act radically out of love for all if they choose. Organizations and societies cannot under this current structure. They must follow the rules of the Church and of the United States government. They must follow the decisions of those who vote. Until each individual is transformed by God and brings that spirit to the container in which communication takes place, the organization will continue to reflect the principles of empire. Note the seal of the Episcopal Diocese of Upper South Carolina, like a Roman seal. Most dioceses in the Episcopal Church, having been established under such governmental principles, then have to create logos to express the mission and ministry they are trying to execute through the Episcopal Church.